The question I think we are all debating here is how hot's inflation, and is there anything that can be done about it?
Andrew, it's great to see you. It's great to be here in studio with you. And I think the thing that we all know is that inflation around the globe is too high. And what we're doing in the United States is the Federal Reserve is doing its part in terms of using its tools to bring down inflation. And what the president's focused on is doing what we can to expand supply in the U.S. economy. This includes what we've done with the SPR, what we've done in terms of trying to bring down other costs throughout the economy. But we've got to do more in order to make sure that we bring down costs throughout the economy.
So obviously there's a debate about that, because there's some who think that there are certain elements of what you're talking about in terms of what the administration is doing is trying to bring down some of that inflation. And there's other elements. We were just debating this plan this morning, for example, around the gig economy and turning those workers into employees and what that might do to inflation on the other end. How do you guys think about that?
So I think the most important thing is to look at something like the Inflation Reduction Act. And that summarizes our logic in terms of we want to make investments that expand the capacity of the economy while at the same time taking steps to bring down our debt and deficit. We think we can do both things at the same time. And you look at the labor market. You look at the data we just got from the labor market, where we still had strong labor force growth in terms of we created jobs last month. But you look at the other data with regard to the quits data and also what you saw in terms of job openings, those came down. And what those are all indicating is that we're moving towards a more healthy labor force participation going forward. And that's exactly what we want to see. So we think that you can create good, well-paying jobs while at the same time having a healthy labor market going forward.
Well, you know, the supply-siders somehow have gotten, you know, depending on which side of the aisle you're on, it gets kind of a bad reputation. But in a period like this where we really wish we didn't have to kill demand to cure inflation, it just seems we look for fewer jobs. It just seems counterproductive. Yeah, right? It seems perverse. So it's almost like we're all supply-siders all of a sudden, because it'd be nice to just, if we could attack inflation from the supply side, but I don't really hear actual supply-side remedies from the Biden administration in terms of less regulation or cutting taxes, what you normally think of with supply-siders. It's like the SPR, I'm not even sure that's a good idea to do it just for prices when we might need it for an emergency. Do you ever see the Biden administration actually embracing sort of the other idea of supply-side economics? Because I just don't really think that your heart's in it.
Yeah, but you've got to think about supply differently. And like when you look at the bipartisan infrastructure bill, that's a supply-side legislation. When you look at the CHIPS Act, what that does is going to expand the capacity of the economy. Even when you look at parts of the Inflation Reduction Act, where you're making investments in climate. So Treasury, for example, has $270 billion in tax incentives that they're going to put out into the economy that should create up to $3 trillion of investment in the U.S. economy. That's going to expand the capacity of the U.S. economy. So I think we are thinking about supply side. How do we expand the supply of the U.S. economy and our capacity to produce going forward, which will lead to growth and create the types of jobs that you're talking about? You're right that the president ultimately thinks that we need to be on a sustainable path in terms of our debts and deficits, and that means that we're going to have to modestly increase taxes for some in the economy over time. But ultimately, we think we can do both things, put us on a sustainable path while creating jobs going forward.
Do you think the president would like to increase the supply of hydrocarbons produced in the United States? Because it doesn't seem like his heart's really in that either. And that would be a good, I understand we're on a transition long term, but then again, we know, I mean, it's going to be at least a decade. So near term, we don't want to end up with this really scary winter scenario that we're seeing over in Europe, and what could possibly happen. Wally, the Eiffel Tower's lights are off at night. I mean, this is serious all of a sudden.
The answer to your question is yes. The president wants more investment in hydrocarbons. He's called for it. We're seeing more of it. And right now we're on pace to have in 2023 the largest level of production in the United States in history.
2023.
We want to do more. And I think that what the president has said to the Secretary of Energy is that if there are any good ideas out there that are coming from the industry, please bring them forward, because we want to produce more. Ultimately, we know that the reason that America is so well situated to deal with the global headwinds we have today is because we are a net energy producer. We need to continue that, but we also know that we need to make the investments to end our dependence on hydrocarbons, not just for climate reasons, but because it's in our national security interest.